Om Sadashivasamarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Viryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Yadavidya Vilasena Bhuta Bhautika Srishtaya Tam Naumi Paramatmanam Sachidananda Vigraham. So last time we completed perception. The summary, questions, I hope all that is fine and resolved. After all, about what you are seeing anyway. ना बड़ा बात क्या है. Now, after perception, the next pramana universally accepted is inference. Therefore, here the author is going by acceptance of different schools of thought, in the order of taking it up. So, Anupalabdhi, etc., he puts it towards the end, because only Vedantis talk about it, So, in terms of the acceptance of the pramana by people, he is going by that order, by different schools of thought, by different darshanas. Accordingly, he is going. All right. Therefore, he says, Ataha anumanam nirupyate. Ataha meaning only now, nothing more than that. Remember, Brahma Sutra, we saw half a dozen meanings of Ataha. Here, the meaning is simple, now, after having done perception and anumanam nirupyate. What is anumanam? Anumati karanam anumanam. Simple definition. That which gives you inferential knowledge is called inference. Now what is that, etc. I will say. Anumitischa vyapi jnanatvena vyapti jnana janyaha. What is anumanam? Vyapti jnana janyaha. That knowledge which is born because you have vyapti jnanam. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vannihi iti vyaptihi. Tasya jnanena janyaha is born what? Parvato vanniman iti. Simple. In Vedanta, Anumanam is taken very simple, direct. But you refute some of the Nyaya things. So, थोड़ा उधर complication आ जाता है. Otherwise, it is very simple. व्याप्ति ज्ञान जन्यः. व्याप्ति ज्ञानान अनुवायसादत्वेन तज्जन्यत्व अभावात् अननुमेतत्वम्. He says the inference, there is no Vyapti jnanam is not born of inference, he says. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vannihi, that vyapti is not born of anumanam. Correct? What is it born of? Perception. Yeah, it's born of perception. Why is he saying that? He is saying that otherwise, if you are saying Vyaptik Janyam and Vyapti is also Anumana Janyam, then what will happen? You can't say Vyaptik Jnanam, you will get into a proper circus. Yeah. Therefore, Vyaptik Jnanam is perception based. Or anything else. Okay? Shabdam also it can be. Yeah. You need to have the Vyaptik Jnanam. That wherever there is smoke, there is fire. This Vyapti has to be there for you to make an inference. That this noise is associated with this car. That Vyapti Jnanam you need to have. If you have it, you can make the Anumanam. Yeah. Huh? Inference. When you say logic is a big term, because logic can imply inferential knowledge, deductive, comparative. There are so many variations are there. Out of that we are taking inference. Yeah, inference. Vyapti jnanam anuvasayad. Huh? Which one? Yeah. See, when you say logical, something is logical. To say something is logical, really speaking, is vague. What do you mean it is logical? It can mean inferential. It can mean cause-effect relationship. It can mean deductive logic, presumption. It can mean comparative logic. So, there is a lot of, when you are saying inference, if you are saying logical, it's a catch-all term. It's a catch-all term including so many things.
Actually, it's pure mathematics.
Mathematics also can be included into it. Yeah. Therefore, logical is a catch-all term. Out of all the forms of logic, what we are doing now is only inference. Okay, yeah. Okay. Therefore, tajjanya abhavad anivititva. Okay. Therefore, since now, in what way? Huh? Yeah. In what way are we differing from Tarkikas on this? Here, the Vedantin is saying very simple. You have Vyapti Jnanam, yes, inference will happen. Correct? Truck. If you have Vyapti Jnanam that noise is made by a truck, you will make a clean cut inference. What does the Tarkika say? There has to be paramarsha. You see the smoke, you remember the Vyapti Jnanam because you have the paramarsha before. That how you gained this knowledge, wherever there is smoke, there is fire. How did you gain it? Because you saw it in your kitchen or a wood fire or whatever. Then that paramarsha, you say that is applicable here. इतना लंबा चौड़ा क्यों करना है? You may have forgotten where you gained the Vyapti Jnanam. Do you remember, really speaking, where you first saw smoke and fire? How many of us remember here? Where you saw the smoke emanating from a fire, first time you saw, anyone remembers it? Huh? You would, you may. Some of us may, some of us may not. But all of us can infer fire. No? That shows what? Paramarsha is not necessary. Vyapti Jnanam alone is enough. Vyapti Jnanam alone is enough. You don't need Paramarsha. Gauravad. Lamba chauda make it simple thing will work. Why do you need to make it elaborate? Are you seeing that? Simple. If you have Vyapti Jnanam, it will happen. All right. Anumiti Karanam cha Vyapti Jnanam. Next para he is going. It says Anumiti Karanam is Vyapti Jnanam. Vyapti Jnanam itself is Anumiti Karanam. Then he says, Tam sanskaro avantara vyapara. That Vyapti Jnanam is samskara in your mind. No? The samskara was created in your mind by avantara vyapara. By some other transaction that you had. Maybe as a kid you saw it, maybe you saw it in a campfire, maybe you saw it on the TV, whatever. Avantara vyapara. A secondary vyapara was there, a prior vyapara, transaction was there, which caused you to have Vyapti Jnanam. How do you define vyapara, remember? I love that definition of vyapara. It can really confuse people. How do you define vyapara? Tajanyatve sati. Dravya anyatve sati. Tajanyatve sati. Tajanya janakaha vyapara. Other than the object is not a dravya. Vyapara is not an object. But a vyapara can cause an object to be born. Therefore, tajanya janakaha. Okay, anyway, don't go in. I'm just reminding you of the Tarka definition. Any transaction is called vyapara. Okay. Here it is jnana vyapara happening. It's a transaction of knowledge. Jnana vyapara. Okay. Vernacularly, vyapara will mean trade, isn't it? Any trade can be called vyapara. Yeah. So, vyapara is more global. It's a transaction. Any transactional activity is a vyapara. Okay. Natu tritiya linga paramarshaha anumati karanam. Okay. Remember, I dismissed it briefly. Here he is doing it elaborately. Okay. Tritiya linga paramarshaha, he says. What is Tritiya linga paramarshaha? Now, according to the logicians, if we are looking at it, what is the first time you see in the kitchen? Smoke you saw in the kitchen. Then you recollect what? Smoke is never without fire. Okay. Next we say, this hill has got smoke. Okay. Where the fire has to be inferred. This is called the Tritiya Linga, the third time. The third time you are seeing. First there, second you recollect the association, third here, Tritiya Linga. This is negated in Vedanta by saying, Na Tritiya Linga Karanam. What is Karanam? What is the difference between Karanam and Karanam? Asadharanam Karanam.
Instrument.
A thing can have many reasons. Yeah, normally it's put as instrument. But here, there can be many reasons. What is the Karanam? The main reason. Pakasya vanniva jnanam. For cooking, what is the main reason? You need fire, you need heat. You have to cut the vegetables. Correct. That's also one of the Karanam. You have to wash the rice. Correct. That's also one of the Karanam. You have to go shopping for the vegetables. That's also one of the Karanam. What is the main Karanam on all the food is ready? Cooking it, the fire, the heat. Therefore, asadharanam Karanam. The main cause would be called Karanam. Remember the example I gave you all? Muhammad Ali's father said, I have contributed to Muhammad Ali being world champion. I am the cause for him being world champion. Why? When he was young, I fed him well. Come on. You had half a dozen kids, so you fed all of them well, none of them became world champion. Yeah, he had half a dozen kids, more. All of them didn't become world champions. Muhammad Ali became world champion. So what is the asadharana karma? His training, his this thing, his dedication, his...
He was known as Cassius Clay.
Huh?
First he was known as Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay, yeah.
Then he converted.
Yeah. So, what is the asadharanam karanam? That is the thing, the main cause. Yeah. Okay. न च संस्कारजन्यत्वेन अनुमतिः स्मृतौ आप्तिः स्मृतत्वाप्तिः. You can't say, therefore, because vyapti is a samskara in your mind, samskarajanyaha anumiti. You can't define inference as samskarajanyam. Though vyapti is a samskara in your mind, okay? But you cannot say samskarajanyam. Why? It's too wide. Your memory is also smriti is also samskarajanya. You saw this book and remembered Tarka Sangraha. Now Tarka Sangraha is not inference, you remembered it. But it is samskarajanyam. Memory is samskarajanyam. Therefore, if you put linga, vyapti also is, though vyapti is one of the samskaras. If you put anumana as samskarajanyam, then that definition is applicable for memory also. But memory is not inference. You use the vyapti which is in your memory for making an inference. Therefore, vyaptik janyam, you are being specific. You are not using samskara janyam, you are being specific, saying of all the samskaras that you have, this vyapti is responsible for anumanam. Are you getting it? In your mind, there can be 100 things as samskaras. All of them are not contributing to inference. Yeah. Therefore, you can't say samskarajanya anumanam. You have to say vyaptikjanyam only. Clear? Or doubt hai isme? First of all, difference between vyapti and samskara?
Too broad-based, sir. Swamiji.
Beg your pardon?
The samskara is too broad-based.
Samskara is too broad-based, exactly. Everything is a samskara in your mind, no? Yeah. All your memories are samskaras based. But all memories are not contributing to an inference. Only a particular one is contributing. What is that particular one? Vyapti jnanam. Therefore, vyapti is inference. Vyapti jnanam. Oh, sorry, we missed something. We missed one line here. Tasya anumiti hetutva siddhaya linga paramarshaha. He says linga paramarsha is not necessary, he had said. For which he gives a reason. Tasya anumiti hetutva asiddhaya. He says linga paramarsha cannot be established for an anumanam. What is linga paramarsha? Remember tritiya linga, the 3 steps. Kitchen fire, you remember it, you apply it. All of us make an anumanam without that. Therefore, it being a karanam, linga paramarsha, being a karanam for anumanam itself is not tenable, he says. The 3 steps are not tenable. Why do you need the 3 steps? I saw smoke. I said, there is fire in that building. Dekha, I said it. It's almost immediate as well as perception. I am seeing the smoke. I didn't say kitchen mein smoke tha. Connection between smoke and ab idhar hai. See, when linga paramarsha is presented in tarka, sabjan mundi ila, correct. I said, I will dismiss a lot of this. I said that. Remember there itself. Why did you say yes to it when I said it? It is illogical. Because logically you can say anything. It has to be validated by what is happening on the ground. No? Ground reality, what is happening? वो सोचा, ये सोचा, ये सब होता है? नहीं होता है. That's not ground reality. Yeah, it should be there as a samskara. That much is there. That is common ground. Between tarka and here, common ground is only this much. Vyapti jnanam should be there. Linga paramarsha, etc. is not necessary. Therefore, even as an sadharanam karanam, you can't establish it. How are you establishing it as karanam? Because in tarka, karanam for anumanam is linga paramarsha. If you remember, tarka sangra thoda time gava tha, but still, there is no. It's simple, one step. Okay. Yeah, you saw the smoke emanating from that building, it is, hey, fire there. Why? In your mind there is a samskara of that vyapti. Yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra vannihi. It is there in your mind. That's good enough. Otherwise, if you have to go through all the linga paramarsha all the time, the fire will burn half the building before you respond. Yeah. Just imagine the fire brigade character is standing there. He has been called. Smoke. Kitchen. And he is making all these connections. Guys, half the guys will die there. Yeah. You got that. 12 o'clock? Not yet. Quarter to 12 it goes off. Can you guys see me and hear me or no?
Can hear you.
Can't see me. Okay.
We can't hear you.
Okay.
Now we can see you. We can see you.
Now you see me, now you don't.
But it is fixed.
No, I'll just change over. Okay. I'm just joking. I'll change over into the other line. Aja, 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 come on. Yeah. One second. Let me just connect this, okay? Since it has come online properly, Galaxy Connect. Yeah. Yes. Now I'm sure you can see me and hear me. Though I think some people have disappeared.
Yes.
Whoever has disappeared may have to rejoin. They are rejoined. Okay. Yeah. What is your question?
According to Kartikas, the Panchamahabhutas have been always there, they are eternal.
Yeah.
That is the material cause, that is Anumana. So there is no Linga Paramarsha.
Correct. Therefore, it's a postulation.
Then how they say, then that is contradiction.
Shastra postulation. That's why they accept part of the Shastra.
Because otherwise there is
Yeah.
contradiction.
No, the inference, you can prove it inference. You are talking about the inference of Panchamahabhutas. You see Akasha, Vayu, Agni, Apa, Prithvi. You take Prithvi. You know Prithvi is made up of smaller and smaller and smaller particles. Therefore, Vyapti is there. Anything that you see is made up of smaller particles. Then you see other things and you make the same inference. Linga Paramarsha, everything has come. Yeah. But we are saying that Linga Paramarsha is not necessary. Vyapti Jnanam is enough. Nobody sits and thinks all that. Yeah. Nacha Samskarajanya, okay, because Smriti. Then Smriti Pragabha, okay. Now, this Smriti is not responsible for Anumana. He is establishing that using Nyaya arguments. Okay. In Nyaya argument, what happens is, let's look at what he says. Smriti pragha abhava janyasya samskara matra janyasya va. Okay. A pot is born. The creation as a pot is destruction of the prak abhava of the pot. Correct? The prior non-existence of the pot is destroyed when the pot is created. Now you are seeing Smriti is creating Anumanam. Therefore, if you say Smriti is creating Anumanam, Smriti Prakabhava should be ending. The Prakabhava of Smriti should be ending when the Smriti happens. But Smriti Prakabhava was not there, Smriti was there. Samskara was there. Na? Can you say Samskara Prakabhava was there? Exactly. That's why he is negating Tarka argument that is born by that. Kaisa? By your own logic, it is not possible. Because Smriti Smagava. See, it all sounds nice when you present it, but when you look at the intricacies of their argument, like science sounds so logical, but when you question some of the things, the whole thing collapses. Yeah. Because it's all based on certain assumptions. And if those assumptions are not true, the whole thing goes. Yeah. That's why very simply he has put it here. Samskara matra janyatvasya va smritritva prayojatakaya samskara dhvamsa sadharana samskara janyatvasya tat prayojakatvat. Okay, so he says, what is he saying here? Smrititva prayojakataya. Then for Smriti, when Smriti is born, samskara should go. According to your logic, when Smriti is born, samskara should go. But that's not what happens in life. Why? Because samskara sadhana, samskara dhvamsa sadhana janyasya tat prayojaka. Even it, as a normal thing, it can't be there because you keep having recollection of the same thing. No? Today you remembered you had gone to Gomukh. बहुत मजा आया हो गया. Then if samskara is gone, what will happen? Because Smriti Prag Abhava was samskara. So if samskara is gone when Smriti came, remember logic of Tarka. What existed previously has to be destroyed when the new thing has come. So samskara has to go because Prag Abhava Smriti is samskara. So Smriti should go. That means today I remembered it. Tomorrow when my friends ask me about Gomukh, no samskara. पता नहीं. गोमुख में उतना प्रॉब्लम होने का चांस नहीं है. Today your friend asks you, how is your wife? You don't. Oh, she's fine, she's nice. Memory gone. Samskara of wife gone. What will happen? You'll go with the who are you? So you must see the how ridiculous it can become. Only then you will get it. That's why we say nothing is born, nothing is created. It's only a manifestation of a potential. Remember, this is a Vedantic stand. It's a manifestation of a potential, that's all.
How do you just explain this concept again?
Okay. From where?
That Smriti Prag Abhava.
Okay. See, in Nyaya, when a thing is created, the previous state is gone. They'll give you examples also. You had one lump of clay. When the clay you created a pot. Lump किधर है? नहीं है. Pot ही है.
Identity is change.
हाँ? Correct? You had 1 kilo आटा. वो 1 किलो आटा से 50 रोटी बनाया. Probably possible. 50 rotis from 1 kilo आटा. No, you made 50. हाँ? अच्छा, फुल्का से. Not पराठा. पराठा तो 10 बन जाएगा. हाँ, गुजराती फुल्का भी नो. पराठा तो 10-15 हो जाएगा, उससे ज़्यादा नहीं हो जाएगा. That's why 1 paratha is equal to 10 fulkas. Okay. So now what is left? आटा नहीं है, पराठा बनता है तो खा लो. आटा नहीं है, रोटी बनता है तो खा लो. Correct? Now look at the fun of it. If you follow by this, what will happen? Sadeva Saumyadam Gramasīt Ekameva Advitiyam Brahman. What was there was one Brahman. From that Brahman, the whole creation came. अभी क्या है? ब्रह्मन नहीं है, creation है.
But that is why they call unsure.
Can you see to what extent you can push this? It is because of that they are saying that the previous state is to go. Now we are using their own argument against them and saying, if you are saying for Smriti, the previous state, Prag Abhava or Smriti has to go. Unfortunately, see, at Prag Abhava level we can accept it. Your memory was not there before and your memory came now. But before, the not being there actually is samskara stage. If samskara has to go, you will never be able to recollect it again. Therefore, we don't accept that. You can't accept that. Because you have this dharavahika smriti is there. You keep remembering the same thing.
Every day I will be a new
Yeah. If it's a happy memory also, you'll keep remembering it. If it's a Problematic memory, you'll keep remembering it more. He did that to me. He did that to me. All the time you'll be thinking of that only. Are you getting the argument? Why all this is not feasible for Anumanam? So that Smriti is not responsible for Anumanam. He is negating from the argument of Nyaya itself. Don't tell me, Swamiji, that is not true. No, the whole thing is not true. Nyaya is not true. That's what we are trying to establish. So understand the differences. When you are studying something like this, you are studying the answer of Vedanta to another darshana, to another school of thought. Therefore, it will be including that arguments from that school to reply. By saying it is not true is not enough. Two ways of answering a question. I can answer you from my standpoint, or I can answer you from your standpoint. Both are important. Both are important. So this is answering the person from that person's standpoint. Hey, how can you have Smriti as reason for Anumanam? It is Vyapti Jnanam that is the reason for Anumanam, not Smriti. Therefore, tad aprayojakatvat. You cannot have Smriti as this thing. Clear up to now? Questions hai to push lo.
People who are suffering from dementia, but they still remember their childhood.
Yeah, remember childhood, etc. Yeah, that's another argument. That all memories are not. That's just for all memory. But here we are making the connection. What is it that is responsible for getting? See, from the standpoint of Vedanta, it's simple to argue. Vyapti Jnanam. Because samskaras, you say Smriti, then samskaras, then it will go into all Smriti. But no, is he trying to prove that Smriti is not responsible for Anumanam? If you dismiss Smriti, you dismiss Linga Paramarsha also. Have you noticed that? Yeah. Vyapti Jnanam is not dismissed. That we accept it. Vyapti Jnanam is accepted. Everything else is gone. That's all. Yeah. We are saying focus on what is important. The important thing is Vyapti Jnanam for any Anumanam, not other things. Now you can dismiss it as hair splitting. It is not hair splitting, it is arguing against a valid school of knowledge, a valid thought, a school of thought. So the school of thought challenge is answered, because books like Vedanta Paribhasa was written to answer that. In fact, many of the books that came later on, like probably after this text we will go into Naishkarma Siddhi. Naishkarma Siddhi was written to challenge the Karmanaha Moksha, that argument, to answer that. Various forms of Karmanaha Moksha. This book, Siddhanta Lesha Sangraha, Chitsukhi, Khanna Khandakaji, all that was written to answer the questions from Tarka. And believe me, if you can answer the questions from Tarka well enough, it's very easy for you to answer the questions from science also. It's very easy, because the base is similar. Similar, not same, but similar. Yeah. No, that's it. Now, just because we are dismissing some argument, does it mean we are against the discipline of knowledge? No, where applicable it is fine. Where applicable it is fine. Only in the question of reality it is not applicable. Therefore, we are picking holes in some of the process. That's all. Nacha yatra vyakti smarnad anumitihi tatra samskaraha ahetu iti vachyam. Because Vyapti smritihi stale api tas samskarasya eva anumiti hetutvad. He is saying, now he is saying, nacha vyapti smaranat anumati tatra katam samskara. How can samskara be an ahetu, not a hetu? How can samskara not be a hetu? Because vyapti smaranat anumati. Only by remembering the vyapti jnanam will you have anumanam. Therefore, vyapti smriti stale api. When you are remembering the vyapti jnanam, tas samskarasya eva anumiti hetutvat. Therefore, samskara is direct cause for hetu, isn't it? Because samskara is cause for vyapti jnanam and vyapti jnanam is cause for anumanam. Therefore, samskara आया कि नहीं आया? He says, nahi. Smritehe samskara nashakatva niyamaha. No, because according to you, when smriti happens, samskara nasha should happen. Smriti prag abhava nasha should happen. He is going back to the old argument. When you remember something, the prior condition of that memory should go. That is not true. Why? Dharavahika darshana. You remember repeated recollection of the same thing can happen to you. Therefore, samskara is not gone. We are not saying the vyapti jnanam depends upon the samskara or not. We are not denying that part of it. But what are we denying? That when the vyapti jnanam comes up, the samskara should go, if it is only according to you memory. Samskara is not the direct cause of anuman. Contributory factor. He said, na avantara vyapara. It's a contributory factor. Nobody is denying that. Contributory factor. It is not the main cause. Main cause is vyapti jnanam. Why? Samskaras, you have so many samskaras in your mind. All of them is not cause for vyapti jnanam. Yeah. I remember my girlfriend. She was a hot girl. That is not responsible for me seeing fire here, inferring fire here. It's similarity. It's foolish, you see how foolish that is. All samskaras are not responsible for this. Only vyapti jnanam is responsible for it. Yeah. Even if you remember, you say, "Arey, I rescued this person out of that fire." एक जमाना में था. There was a fire on the ship. I rescued this guy. You may remember that, but that is not causing you to infer this. This fire, now for that samskara to be triggered, you already inferred there is fire. Correct? For that samskara to be triggered in your mind, that you pull this guy out of the fire, you already infer there is fire here. You already know there is fire here. So it is that that is triggered of the samskara. Can you see that? Therefore, all samskaras are not. You can't say anumanam samskara janyam, you can't say. Vyapti samskara janyam, yeah. It's already there in your mind, though you may have forgotten the initial memory. Initial time that you saw that vyapti, you might have forgotten it. None of us, as I said, none of us remember where we made the connection between smoke and fire. It could have been from your grandfather's pipe also, smoking. He was a retired naval guy. He had a habit of smoking a pipe. The connection can be anywhere you made. You saw it as a kid. Oh, fire and smoke. Huh? Connection can come anywhere. Yeah. But how many of us remember it? We don't. Vyapti is there enough, good enough for us. Yeah. Smriti Dhara Darshanat. Okay. न च अनु उद्बुद्ध संस्काराद अपि अनुमित्य आपत्तिः तद बुद्धस्य अपि सहकारित्वात्. Okay, he says anubuddha samskarad api anubhuti apattihi. It is, he says, a latent impression in you, but not awakened, not triggered off.
When you say not awakened, it means not cognizant.
Huh?
When you say not awakened, it means not cognizant.
Yeah, not thought, not cognizant. Meaning it is there in your mind somewhere. Okay? But that samskara has not been awakened. Okay? Samskarad api anumitya apattihi. He says an unawakened samskara, an unawakened latent impression cannot be a karanam for anumati. Na? There is a latent impression in your mind that this sound refers to this vehicle, this type of vehicle. But there is nothing triggered of that memory. If nothing has triggered of that memory and you hear the sound, will you make an connection that this sound is made by the truck? You will not, because it has not been awakened. He says that is okay. Tad udbhaddasyapi sahakaritvat. That awakening that latent impression is also a sahakari karanam for anumanam. It is not the main cause. Because vyapti jnanam will come because of the samskara. If the samskara is not awakened, it will not happen. Correct, we accept that. What we are saying is, your vyapti jnanam should be there in your mind right now. How it was caused doesn't matter. What samskara caused it doesn't matter. The samskara will be there, correct. So a samskara can be, say, at the most you can say you gain vyapti jnanam out of it. And from that vyapti jnanam, anumanam. It is not directly from samskara anumana, because from samskara all your memories will come into the picture. If you say samskara anumanam, then everything you recollect will become an anumanam, which is not true. I sat down here and my some sound, fan, samskara of some dinner in some restaurant. Is it inference? Samskarajanyam. If you are defining inference as samskarajanyam, that should also become samskara, anumanam. It's not anumanam, it's a memory. It's a memory. Okay. I'm getting funny thoughts, but it is valid. This is how you dismiss things. You saw the smoke. You remembered barbecue. Is that inference? It's smriti, memory. Samskarajanyam. Because this smoke triggered off my samskara of barbecue experience. So that is memory. It is nothing to do with anumanam. Anumanam is what? Seeing that there is fire here. That can be done only if the vyapti between smoke and fire is there in your mind. You can have 100 samskaras. All the samskaras are not responsible. Yeah.
Swami, is it possible that a person who is very forgetful,
Yeah, very forgetful, it can happen. Yeah, correct.
then his capacity to kind of even infer could be compromised?
If vyapti jnanam is not there, inference will not be difficult. See, you will find it in your practice. Why do you have to refer? Because you have forgotten some of the Vyaptis. No? Why do you have to refer to various laws? You don't remember every law. So the connection between that law and this case, that Vyapti, you don't remember. But the samskara is there enough for you to know somewhere idhar hai, ye section mein milega. That much samskara is there. So you can forget. That's why we are giving a gross example. Fire in the building or on the mountain. Yeah. Otherwise, forgetfulness can always happen. You can forget a Vyapti. You can forget such a Vyapti existed at all. Because that is human mind. You had an experience forgotten, samskara won't out, because samskara is strengthened by repeated experiences, isn't it? How do you strengthen a memory? By repetition. That's why we mugged up so much in college and school. What did you mug up? Going over again and the more you repeated, the more the samskara became firmer, the more you could remember. But if you had an off experience, and you made a Vyapti Jnana also, but that experience was only one off, you forget it. Then Vyapti also you get weakened. No? You may not remember it. In a new situation, you may not remember it. Or the samsara, the experience was nothing great. It is a simple commonplace experience. मैं रास्ता में जा रहा था, that type of experience. What do you saw? Samskara is poor. You won't remember it. Yeah. So it all depends on various factors. So Vyapti Anumanam is Vyapti Jnana. Vyapti Jnanam can be by samskara, that's fine. Not mere samskara. You made connections in the samskara. See, that's also important to note. It was not merely a samskara. Samskara is what you went through. Okay. Samskara is something you went through. But you made the connection. When this happens, this happens. When there is smoke, there has to be fire. You touch fire, you will get burned. There is a connection that has to be made. Some of the connections we forget. If you fall in love, get ready to be hurt. Some of you, but love is a beautiful thing. Also, you have to be ready for the pain. Why? It's another part of the love. That we forget. That we forget. So some part may be forgotten.
Yes, it is Vyapti, but without samskara, it is not
Exactly.
possible to have.
And that samskara has to be strong enough for you to make the connection. Or your thinking has to be good enough to make the connection. Or you may have made the wrong connection. Remember that worm in the whiskey and the worm in the water? Vyapti he made was what? If you drink whiskey, there will be no worms. Yatra yatra whiskey, tatra tatra worm abhavaha. Clear cut. You can make a wrong Vyapti Jnanam also, na? That's why the example used is very simple, where you can't go wrong. But in life, when you're looking at it, you have to look at it more globally, because all these things can happen. All these things can happen. Yeah. Because inference is tricky. Yeah. Because inference is based on your past experience, the learning from the past experience. What you learned, if it is fundamentally wrong, then what is the problem? You got cheated by somebody. Never trust anybody. Success depends on not trusting anybody. You make a Vyapti Jnanam like that. You'll never be successful in life. Yeah. But all these contracts and all are driven up because you can't cheat each other, no? No. Contracts are created so that you can trust each other. Because there is a framework created where you can trust. It's meant for trusting. It is like, what is a brake in a car meant for? Why do you have a brake in a car? So that you can go fast. Why? Because you have a brake, you can stop it. Nah? If you don't have a brake, will you go that fast? Supposing you have your car brake has failed, will you drive that fast? You have to drive only up to the mechanic, half a kilometer. Will you drive at 40 kilometers an hour? You will never do it. The brake is meant to drive fast, not meant to make slow. Why? Because you know you can stop it. So similarly, success depends on trust. So to make trust possible, you create all these things. But the lesson I learned was wrong. Vyapti Jnanam was wrong. Can you see the complexities of this that influences your life? So that's why when you study Vedanta, you will say Vairagya, objectivity, Viveka and Vairagya has to be there, clear thinking. Otherwise, the whole thing can go haywire. It can go haywire. That is why in our learning, all traditional learning, a certain amount of Shraddha is insisted upon. Trust is insisted upon. Whereas modern education is all about being skeptical. But being skeptical can lead to new knowledge. It can lead to poor learning as well. Yeah, being a skeptic can lead to poor learning. You don't need to be skeptical, you need to be analytical. You need to be able to question fundamentals. Like how we are doing here. Nyaya presented something, we are questioning fundamentals. Yeah. So similarly in Vedanta, when you study something, question fundamentals. So you study books like this to help you question fundamentals. So your knowledge is stronger. So the whole learning is different. Of course, being skeptical is necessary in a discipline of knowledge where you are breaking fresh ground. In Vedanta, what is the fresh ground? Your consciousness, finished. That's the ancient one, okay? Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahman Aham Asmi. Bas, ho gaya. What fresh ground are you going to break? Fresh ground can be a new book answering new arguments. Yeah. Like an argument answering from science, this, that, etc. Psychology is necessary now. The day I see myself as a writer, I will do it. But I don't see myself as a writer as of now. Yeah. I am a teacher, not a writer. I can talk. I can create videos on it. I can't sit and write. That's not me. So this is where the whole thing comes from. So there's no breaking fresh ground. Your consciousness remains. Finished. Okay, there's a finality. Whereas in science, economics, etc., there is no finality of learning. Because there is no finality of learning, a skeptical approach helps there. Because there is a finality, a trusting thing helps. Plus you have to work on yourself. To work on yourself, you have to trust. To work on something else, you can be skeptical. Working on something else, you can be skeptical. You are working on yourself. Do you trust the guy enough? When he says something, am I examining it or am I arguing against it? Simple as that. Am I examining it? Examining may involve some discussions and debate. That's fine. Because we can be in denial over a lot of things. Why? Samskara has picked up. Yeah, yes, the samskara has picked up. That's why every samskara will not lead to vyapti jnanam. Therefore, every samskara will not lead to anumanam in this context. Only those samskaras which has given you appropriate vyapti jnanam can lead to inferences. Yeah. Otherwise, there will be a lot of upadhi in the whole thing.
There are Vyapti Jnana, there is memory. What else is samskara? There is like a catch-all. What else?
Catch-all, memories. All your memories, including, okay, when you are on the topic of samskara, we are digressing from anumana a little bit, but it's important in our global learning of Vedanta. Samskaras can trigger off memories of emotions. Saw something, all emotions came. Come on, I just saw something. Why is all these emotions coming up in me? Why is a word triggering off those emotions? Because that word was a trigger point for some incidences. So emotions can be triggered off. That is also memory.
Very often emotions are coded as memory only.
Yeah. Your past emotions are coded as memory. Emotion can trigger off. Actual memories can be. Yeah. Anger can be triggered off. We have trigger words that will cause, exactly that you say this word, that character will get angry. Tell anyone you are angry, first you will get angry. Of course I am not angry. And we use this in our arguments. You are angry with me. And people tell me, yeah, I say, yeah, I am angry with you. Be thankful you're still standing. Then they'll do. Because it's used as a manipulative statement without them realizing they're manipulating sometimes. Yeah. So all this samskara can trigger of manipulation. Learnt as a child, because I had to survive. So children are, in fact, in psychology, there is a state of a child, inner child, called little professor. But there's a manipulative child. You manipulate situations. Why they associate it with being a professor, I don't know. That's a psychologist's issue with professors. Yeah, that is the issue. Why you want to call him little professor? Could have called him little manipulator, no? Yeah. So sometimes the word you use also indicates what is your mindset. Huh? All that part will come under Shabda Pramanam. Okay. How you look at things. So this is where the samskara plays a role. But you can't say samsara anumati karma. No. Vyapti jnanam anumati karma. Because samskara is huge. All of us are a bundle of samskaras walking around, really speaking. Bundle of samskaras walking around. Because samskaras can come from our previous lifetimes also. What about that? Yeah.
Also the same event can create different things.
Yeah. Depending upon the context of the event. Yeah. Correct. Yeah. Like in rare cases, I do past life regressions for people. Why? Because there's no other explanation for what's happening here. And without that explanation, the person can't move on. If you can move on, no problems. You don't have to do it. But you can't move on sometimes. You're stuck. Yeah. Then what? Yeah. But don't be quick to justify all your actions because of past life samskara. Or hereditary or something like that. Why am I saying it? Because I used to do that. As a kid, I was angry. I had a habit of anger. Habitual anger was there. And I used to say, hereditary. My father is an angry man. I am an angry man. Until my scout master called me and said, there's nothing like hereditary. There's no gene for anger discovered yet. There was more than 50 years ago. And I'm saying the same thing today. No gene for anger has been discovered. So I had to learn the hard way. Anger doesn't work in the boxing ring. So, all these are samskaras. Out of all of them, that which has created vyapti jnanam for you, that is responsible for anumanam. That's it. That is responsible for anumanam, nothing else. Okay. And why are we dismissing the samskara in the Nyaya context? In the Nyaya context, because Pragabhava, the destruction of the previous state when a new thing is created. Then if you are going strictly by that, when Smriti is created, samskara has to go. That is not true, because you remember again and again the same thing. Good, bad, ugly, whatever it is, you remember. And if you can remember, that proves the samskara is not destroyed. In fact, this dharavahika recollection, remembering it again and again, will only strengthen your samskara. I had one samskara long back. Then I remembered. Something triggered off, I remembered all that. The samskara is strengthened. Now what was pushed into subconscious has become conscious. Then another day, same thing, something similar happened and I remembered it. So half a dozen times I remembered in the last month. Now the samskara has become stronger, no? That's why when you have too many negative experiences, dwell enough with them to deal with them, not more than that. Don't keep on doing reliving. I have to validate my experience. It's like what I told a psychologist, you are not validating, you are strengthening it. Because every time you're talking about that only, for the last 3 years, I don't know you're talking about that only. Enough of validation. Let go. This is what happened in childhood, some silly thing, not some big thing. I can understand child abuse or something is big thing. It's some silly thing. So don't build up. Validate and let it go. If it is a negative samskara, just validate enough so that you feel okay. That validation is important, because validation means understanding and acceptance. Understanding and acceptance is validation. That much. Not an emotional build-up. Accept, validate, let go. रात गई बात गई हो गया. How will you build up? Some samskaras are good to build up. What do you study here, okay? Good to build up. So that you don't come to every class with a clean slate. Okay? There is more to it, but that we will see in next class. So remember, we have stopped after the first 2 lines of that paragraph 171. Okay? Good place to stop. Om Tat Sat. Here I will be digressing a bit, but all this digression meant for the whole complete study of Vedanta. Okay?